Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Yes! I feel like I've been waiting for this my entire life.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Jolly good fun. Jolly good.
Locking down the middle of the day.
America's favorite daytime fun show.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in hour number 2, a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp sitting in for Hunt Palmer. Guys, I'm sorry I didn't do it. I don't know if Hunt actually does this, the intro hour number 2.
He doesn't.
Okay, cool. I nailed it then. You got it right. I'm just saying, every day, you're like, oh, he might be show prepping since he's filling in this week. No. Every day I go home for 20 minutes, I sit down and I practice my Hunt Palmer intro to make sure it's good for you guys. Obviously, that's a joke, but we are going to try it every day. And hopefully this will be perfected by the end of the week. Look, we were very LSU heavy in the last hour. I did lead with some New Orleans Saints, though. But right now, want to continue the conversation on LSU football. They just wrapped up spring. The transfers portal is underway. But as Brian Kelly mentioned, doesn't look like there's going to be a ton of movement in the transfer portal, barring something unforeseen. But what I do want to mention, CBS Sports put this out yesterday. They put out the most valuable player for every top 25 college football team entering 2025. They have Texas at the top. No surprise, it's going to be Arch Manning. Look, I have been very critical on what I have thought about Arch Manning's and the hype around him. I think he has a chance to be good. I think he will be good, but the hype is a little ridiculous. This is a guy who's 19 years old. He has never been a full-time starter at the college level. We don't know what it's going to look like. I think Arch has all the tools. Obviously, we know the pedigree that comes with being a Manning. But Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond, Gunnar Helm, all gone from last year. Not only are you breaking in a new quarterback, somebody else is going to have to step up in that receiver room for Texas. Now, they got solid pieces, but we got to see somebody become the guy like Matthew Golden was down the stretch last year. At Georgia, it's wide receiver Noah Thomas. Miami, it's Carson Beck. Obviously, he transferred from Georgia. Ohio State, no surprise there. It's Jeremiah Smith. Nick Singleton for Penn State. Like, you get the idea, right? A lot of good teams, a lot of really good players being named as the potential MVP for the 2025 season. Jeremiah Love at Notre Dame makes a lot of sense. They're moving on from Riley Leonard. What is that Notre Dame running game going to look like? Dante Moore at Oregon. But for LSU, CBS Sports put Mansoor Delane, the transfer cornerback from Virginia Tech. The write-up says, LSU's upside under Brian Kelly has been severely limited by a consistently subpar defense, one that especially struggles against the pass. So the Tigers loaded up on secondary talent via the transfer portal and high school recruiting in hopes of finally solving that issue. The gem of the entire group is Delane, a 6'1 corner with sticky coverage skills and great ball skills. He led the Hokies with 4 interceptions in 2024. Now, would I have picked him as my MVP for 2025 at LSU? No, because I think this team's going to be as good as Garrett Nussmeier and that offensive line allow them to be. I think I would go with that. But Mansoor Delane was a big-time transfer portal addition. No question about it. The most proven DB in this secondary. Yes, Ashton Stam's entering his 3rd year, but you want to look at a guy that was a solid player, Mansoor Delane. I mean, we actually just got off the phone last hour with Glenn West. Glenn West had a write-up on Mansoor Delane. He mentions the same article that I'm referencing. Glenn's high on Mansoor Delane. He was very solid at Virginia Tech. You heard that he led the team in interceptions. It was more than just that. Here's what he did last year. 54 tackles, 1 tackle for a loss, 4 interceptions. 6 interceptions in his career, 146 tackles over a 3-year stretch, including 8 tackles for a loss. He was really good at coming up, making tackles at the line of scrimmage. What we had heard about Mansoor Delane coming into LSU when they got him out of the transfer portal, this is a guy that's a really good cornerback. However, there were some people that said, hey, maybe we could see him make that move to safety. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to start at cornerback on this defense. But it was said that he could potentially play anywhere in this secondary. That's the thing I love the most about Mansoor Delane. Sure, he's got experience in the Power 4, and he's been a productive player in college. I get all that. Again, I think he will start at corner on this defense. Right now, if I had to bet, you asked me to put money on who I think is going to start for LSU, Mansoor Delane on one side, Ashton Stamps on the other. That's probably where I'm going. As far as game one goes, just based off of experience. But what if, let's say Ashton Stamps does get that other spot? What if you're really happy with a DJ Pickett or Jakeem Jackson or a PJ Woodland or somebody along those lines? Could you move him to safety if you're not happy at safety? Look, we've talked about safety a lot in the spring, right? That was kind of the position to watch on defense. You bring in Tamarcus Cooley from the transfer portal. Outside of that, Deshaun Spears entering his second year, who showed flashes last year, but at times looked like a freshman. Javian Toviano finally making the move full-time to safety for the first time in his LSU career. He's played a little bit of safety. He's played a little bit of corner. He's played a little bit of that nickel. He can finally focus on one spot. A lot of people forget you do return Jordan Gilbert. Gilbert started for you last year a number of games, got hurt a little bit down the stretch, has been out pretty much all of spring, but he's working his way back. He'll be in the mix in fall camp. Again, he's a guy that started a lot of games for you a year ago. Well, what if it works out at safety? What if Tamarcus Cooley is the player you thought he was when you went and got him in the portal? He's got one spot locked up. Spears, Gilbert, Toviano, they're all battling for that other spot. Makes each of them better. You have two really solid safeties at that point. Harold Perkins is expected to play that star role. What if it doesn't work out? What if Harold Perkins is not fully healthy for whatever reason? Could you put a guy like Mansoor Delane in that star role? Because right now, you don't have a solidified number 2 in that spot. I think Perkins is going to work out at star, but let's say he's fully healthy and it just doesn't work out. That's not his spot. Could the versatility of a guy like Mansoor Delane help fill that? So look, whether he's at corner, whether he's at safety, whether he's at star, I think Mansoor Delane is going to start on this defense, and I think he's going to make an impact on this defense. Look at the guys you brought in. DJ Pickett's a freshman. PJ Woodland's back, played a little bit last year as a freshman, showed some promise. Ashton Stamps entering his third year in this program. I think he has a potential to have a really good year. You bring in Jakeem Jackson, who's a talented player who signed at Florida under Corey Raymond. He follows Raymond to LSU, but he's been injured at Florida. He hasn't played a ton. The guy that you brought in that had the combination of size, speed, experience, on-field production was Mansoor Delane. And I think he was one of the most important portal ads you had. Everyone wants to talk about the edge rushers, and rightfully so. Okay, like Gabriel Relaford showed promise last year. You bring in Jack Pyburn, Jamari Butler, Patrick Payton. All 4 of those guys, I think that could potentially be one of the most talented rooms, not just on your defense, but on your entire team. But I think Mansoor Delane maybe was the biggest transfer portal addition on your defense because of the versatility I mentioned. Because, look, Stamps took a big step forward in year 2. Can he do it again? Pickett's as talented as anybody out there. He's a freshman. I just mentioned the injury history of Jakeem Jackson. PJ Woodland, he was a freshman last year. He's still a young player. You had to go get secondary pieces. You got Tamarcus Cooley, who I think is going to be big for you. But Mansoor Delane, he is going to start on this team. I think he is going to make plays on this defense. I think this is a big year potentially for that LSU defense. When Blake Baker was hired, everyone went back and looked at what he did at Missouri. Missouri had an awful defense. He made them respectable in his first year. And then by year 2, they were a top 30 defense. Can he do that here? He already did part 1 last year. LSU's defense wasn't great, but it was respectable. It was a whole heck of a lot better than it was under Matt House the 2 years previous. Can he help that defense make that similar jump? Bring in a new D-line coach in Kyle Williams, but look, replacing Bo Davis, no easy task. By all accounts, everyone's excited about Kyle Williams. You did a great job on your edge rushers. Might be the strength of your defense. I think you're going to be solid at linebacker. I think your corner, you're deep there. All of a sudden. Past couple years, you hadn't had any bodies. Now you're kind of deep. Say Delane stays at corner. Mansoor Delane, Ashton Stamps, DJ Pickett, Jakeem Jackson, PJ Woodland. It's 5 guys right there. And then at safety, If you can grab a spot next to a TaMarcus Cooley, who takes over that role, I think this defense has a chance to be really good. And again, I don't think any addition was more important than Virginia Tech transfer Mansoor Delane. All right, we're going to take a quick timeout. When we get back, I'm going to tell you about the possible steal in the first round of the NFL draft. We're breaking that down next here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. They're the only fully exclusive Genesis dealer in the state of Louisiana, and they're right here in Baton Rouge. I told y'all earlier this week, we were driving, my wife goes, oh, that's that car I really like. It's a Genesis. And she had no idea that I even do this. I was like, yeah, they're really nice. They're really, really nice. And you should know it too. You don't see a ton of Genesis on the road because it's fairly new to our city here. They've only been at that location for a year and a half, but go check it out. It's a luxury vehicle. It's a luxury experience to be a Genesis driver. That means 3 years of complimentary maintenance, a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. It's a luxury experience at a reasonable price over at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every single car that's on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. And all of them, every single model, from the entry level to the highest end, come with the same safety features. Safety is a priority for Genesis. Go check them out. Genesis of Baton Rouge. They're online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. That's Genesis of Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Welcome back in. Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. I got about 45 minutes left with you here in our work day. Cassie over there stalking my Instagram from way back in the day. I told her to find one video. Okay, we're going through my entire catalog.
Told me to dig through your Instagram to look for this. So of course I was going to see all the old pictures.
Ask for the entire catalog. What's the worst picture?
I don't know. You got some good ones in here.
They're not okay. You have to admit this. They are not nearly as cringy as some other people's old Instagrams.
Fair. Okay.
All right, look, you can go ahead, pull it up. Pull up the worst picture. We will show it to the YouTube audience. What do we got?
Hold up. Let me pull it over.
What do we got?
Like this one. It's a good face.
I know exactly. All right, get it away. I know exactly where that was. That was at City Park in New Orleans for like the Christmas light thing. That's exactly where that was. Look. If that's the worst one, I'm good. Okay, it's not that big of a deal. What we are going to show you later, Cassie mentioned that the Ice Bucket Challenge is back. I have figured out why. So when we get into Take It or Leave It, we're going to talk about why. I have the original video of me doing the Ice Bucket Challenge. No sound for some reason, but I do have it all the way back in 2014. So we'll play that. I'm sure everybody can have a good laugh at my expense. It'll be just like it's the morning show, okay? Everybody will have a nice time. Okay. Moving on to something far less cringe. The first round of the NFL draft coming up on Thursday night, and somebody I want to mention who I think has a chance to be the steal of the entire NFL draft, and it's Nick Emmanwori, the safety out of South Carolina. Would I like the Saints to take him at 9? But, I mean, he's that good. I think he's a guy that can play anywhere for you. A lot of people have talked about Malachi Starks coming out of the University of Georgia. I get it. He's a defensive player under Kirby Smart in college where they won a lot of games. I understand that. Lately, Emmanwori has been mocked over Malachi Starks. However, there are some people that still disagree. They're going with Malachi Starks. I don't think there is any question which safety should be the first one drafted. Saints are in the market for a safety. Look, I respect Kirby Smart and the players he puts in the league, and Starks had a good career. I mean, look, when you look at what Malachi Starks did in college, 197 tackles, 6 tackles for a loss, 6 interceptions. That's over a 3-year span. Great. I mean, he's 6'1". He's hovering around 200 pounds, 195. But Nick Emmanwori, 244 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, 6 interceptions in his 3 years at South Carolina. And when you look at what he did at his combine, at his pro day, all of it, It really paints a picture of how athletic this guy is. Now, I'm never one to look too much into what they do at the NFL Combine or the Underwear Olympics, whatever you want to call it. But when you pair a really good combine, a really good pro day, all that sort of testing with on-field production, okay, then I'm on board. Nick Immanwori came in at 6'4", 220 pounds, ran a 4.38 in the 40-yard dash with a 43-inch vertical jump and 11.6 broad jump. According to ESPN, that makes him one of just 4 players 6'3" or taller to have topped those numbers. Bryce Ford-Wheaton did it in 2023. Tariq Woolen did it, who's been really good with the Seattle Seahawks. And DK Metcalf, we know how athletic of a freak he is, did it back in 2019. That's the list. He's also the only safety since at least 2003 to have a sub 4.4, jump at least 40 inches, and jump at least 11 in the broad jump. So essentially, that makes Nick Immanwori the most athletic safety to ever come into the NFL draft. Again, I'm not one of those that goes, oh, he had a great combine, you have to draft him in the first round. But when you look at what he did at the combine and then go back and look at the numbers, just this past season, I mentioned the 244 tackles over a 3-year span, which is really impressive. Just this past year, 88 tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, 4 interceptions, 2 of those returned for touchdowns. He averaged 26.8 yards per return on those 4 interceptions. LSU fans will remember him for a not so glamorous reason. Remember the interception Garrett Nussmeier threw against South Carolina? It was returned for a touchdown, would have iced the game, but there was an illegal blindside block on Garrett Nussmeier. It gave LSU an extra life. The blindside block was thrown by Nick Immanwori. LSU fans may remember him, but I promise you, as mad as South Carolina fans were in that moment, they remember Nick Immanwori fondly because he was a heck of a football player. 6'4", 220 pounds. You can do that. I think he's going to go in there and start immediately in anyone's secondary. But the thing about him is that size, you can kind of play him anywhere. Because when it comes with the Saints, when we're talking about the secondary, you say, okay, well, Tyrann Mathieu has been a really good box safety. He's not getting any younger. You bring in Justin Reed, pretty good signing. He's not getting any younger either. And then on the outside, oh, your corners, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Alontae Taylor. Taylor's played a lot more in the slot. If you get a guy like Nick Immanwori, though, you can play him in the slot if you need to move Taylor to the outside. If you don't feel good about Tyrann Mathieu or Justin Reed, or you want to move Mathieu or Reed into that nickel role, you can put him at safety. Heck, you can even play this guy at linebacker. I tell you what he reminds me of. Now, I think he's going to have a lot better NFL career. Remember Isaiah Simmons coming out of Clemson. He was a safety, the linebacker, the nickel, the edge rusher, whatever you wanted to call him. And teams were really excited about him because he could play everywhere you needed on a defense. I think Nick Immanwori can do that as well. Now, I'm not saying he's going to come in and be an all-pro, but if you look at where he is mocked, any of these mock drafts, they have him from 16 all the way down to 31. So the back half of the first round. There are some people that have Malachi Starks as high as 12. I don't get it. Far too many times GMs try to be the smartest guy in the room and say, okay, well, this guy here, it makes a lot more sense. It's a pick that we don't have to answer as many questions about. I think unquestionably Nick Immanwori should be taken over Malachi Starks. I don't think there's a question about it. This is not a knock on Malachi Starks. I broke down the numbers for you on Starks. He had a really good year. He played on a Kirby Smart defense. At Georgia, he played in a lot of big-time games. He played well in those big-time games. They won a lot of games at Georgia. 6'1", 195. It's fine, but when you have a safety who put up the type of numbers Nick Immanwori did, 6'4", 220 pounds, ran a 4.38, 43-inch vertical jump, you can play him anywhere. Can he be an outside linebacker for you if you need him? Sure. Can he be a nickel? Sure. I talked about the tackles for losses. He can play at the line of scrimmage. He can play as the box safety. At 4.38, he's fast enough to be the deep safety for you. And he had 4 interceptions last year, 2 of them returned for touchdowns. You know he has the ball skills. I'm not saying this is a guy that the Saints are seriously going to target at 9 overall. However, I wouldn't hate it. objectively. But what I will say is every year you go back and look, or at least I do, hey, who fell? Who was maybe overdrafted? Where should they have went? I think in 2 to 3 years, there's a chance we go back and say Nick Emmanwori at, 18 overall, 21 overall, wherever he goes, was the steal of that draft. This guy has a chance to be a big-time safety in the NFL for years to come. All right, we're going to take a timeout. When we get back, Sharief Ishaq is going to hop on with us with his normal 2:30 spot. A lot to get into with Sharief about the New Orleans Saints draft week here. NFL draft just 2 days away. We're going to break it all down with Sharief next here on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Welcome back in. Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp sitting in for a vacationing Hunt Palmer, who I think is either on the beach right now listening to a baseball podcast or on the golf course working on his swing. Either way, we are here hanging out with you for the next 30 minutes right now. I want to bring on Sharief Ishaq of WDSU. Sharief, how are you today?
I'm actually headed to the QPC, Louisiana myself to not go work on my golf swing.
Look at that. Look at that. You might run into Hunt Palmer. He said he's at the beach. I don't know if that's factual, so you'll have to let us know if Hunt is indeed there. I imagine Hunt is a lot more serious of a golfer than most people I know, so you might want to stay away from him out there on the course. All right, Sharief, let's dive right into it. There has been so much news that has came out as far as the New Orleans Saints, what their draft strategy could be for the early rounds here in 2025. Look, reports from Adam Schefter and others have said that the Saints could potentially try to trade back up either higher into round 2 or at the end of round 1 for a quarterback. And reportedly, the one they are targeting is Jackson Dart. Let me kind of get your thoughts on that. Sharief, you there?
We'll have 2 picks next year. I'm here.
Okay. Sorry, you cut out. Yeah, you cut out.
I should have warned you about that going across the greater New Orleans bridge. It just always cuts out. All right, so as long as they don't give up the top 2 picks next year, because I think those are going to be golden tickets next year for them. I'm good with them doing it at the back half of the first round, or even moving up a few spots and problem becomes is the Browns and Giants. If they don't pick a quarterback in the first round, and if they do, it's going to be Sanders and probably Dart. So that it's going to really become a difficult situation for them. So they're probably going to have to moving into the back end of the first round. But as long as they don't give up their first or second round pick next year, because those are probably going to be high value golden tickets for the team next year, because they're not going to be that good. So I'm fine with it. If it's Jackson Dart, I'm not really so sold on Tyler Shuck from Louisville. Yeah. I think they seem to like him a lot. It doesn't look like it's going to be Shedeur Sanders, because I'm just hearing that they're not, in on Shedeur Sanders, even though I mocked him a million months. So Dart, they love Dart. That's fine. And I think they kind of do like Tyler Shuck in Louisville. So, yeah, I'd be okay with it as long as you're not, messing up your draft picks next year. You're not, ruining your draft next year, because I think they're going to need those top 2 picks next year.
If that's the case, they do decide to trade back up, either back half of the first round, really early in the second. Where do you think they go at 9? Because it is obviously not Shedeur Sanders anymore.
You could just go ahead and throw the proverbial dart at the dartboard. They need every single position. Every single position is a need at this point. Maybe they go best player available. The only thing that really does kind of bother me, they're going to do what they're used to doing, and going back into the well and drafting an offensive lineman. In my opinion, that's what I think that it's trending to, offensive lineman or defensive lineman. I think I wouldn't be bothered if they did the defensive lineman. If Mason Graham is there, the defensive tackle from Michigan, who's a 3-technique defensive tackle, he's there. You got to take him, because that guy was, projected as a top 5 pick. He falls to 9. You can't miss on drafting a guy like that. You're not taking a quarterback, so take him. I'd be okay with Tyler Warren, because you do eventually need to have some kind of weapons on that offense when they get a quarterback, eventually get a quarterback, and you have to have some young weapons. So, and he's a really good one at number 9. Some people might think it's a reach, but I think that's, he's probably a 9 to 13 pick. So, I mean, I'd be okay with that. I mean, it's a little bit sexier than an offensive defensive lineman, but we're used to seeing they've drafted at least one of those two positions in the first or second round since 2015. And I think you'll probably maybe they just go a different direction. And if I know I'm kind of crazy saying that, maybe you should just do what they've always done and say, hey, they're going to draft one of those two. But Tyler Warren would be good to me. I like Tyler Warren, but now you're starting to see like Michael Williams from Georgia being the odds-on favorites according to DraftKings, the edge rusher from Georgia. So I'm not so sold on him. So I don't know if I would go that direction. If Mason Graham was there, he'd be my pick.
Well, Sharief, you will be less than pleased to know that earlier in the show, I broke down a few mock drafts. CBS Sports had 2 different ones yesterday. A lot of other people have. And one of the favorites right now being mocked to the Saints at number 9 is Kelvin Banks, the left tackle out of Texas. So you're right. Typical offensive lineman in the first round. But look, let's say that they don't trade back up to get a QB. Let's say whoever they drafted 9 or are cool with, they stick at number 40 overall. How do you think this draft could fall for them? Like, what would be best case scenario for the Saints if they are unable to trade back up?
I'd be fine with that too. I mean, you're not once again, you're not mortgaging your future with your draft picks. You're just building your team outside of quarterback and hoping you hit on a quarterback in next year's draft. And you hate to say it, you hope that they have another bad season and they finish in the top 3 and they have a top 3 pick. There's no guarantee. Arch Manning isn't coming out. So no one can stop with Arch Manning. He's staying for 2 more years. He's just like his uncle. They're going to play this 2 years and finish as a senior at Texas. So that's probably going to have to stop unless something crazy happens and he does come out. But I don't see it. So that means, you're stuck hoping that you get a top 2 or 3 pick and it's, Nussmeier to go play with his dad, Doug Nussmeier. You have Garrett and Doug together, or Drew Aller from Penn State, or somebody else jumps off the map like we saw Jaden Daniels jump off the map and move up in his draft stock. But the way I see it is if they go, Mason Graham or Tyler Warren, and maybe in the second round they go offensive lineman, they go cornerback, receiver, because this team needs everything. And I think they could just continue building this team if they're not going to go quarterback. And this is a good draft because it's deep at quite a few important positions for them. So, getting a cornerback, getting a receiver, I think those are like some very important positions they have to address in a big time way.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. As far as corner and receiver goes, like everyone's talking about, hey, those are 2 big positions of need, and rightfully so. But look, if they take Warren at 9 and they trade back up, give away number 40, trade back up either higher in the second round to get Dart or late in the first round to get Jackson Dart, where does that leave them option-wise for corner and receiver? Because, at that point, you're waiting until the 3rd round to grab one of those.
Yeah, my guess would be you're giving up picks. Just say, hypothetically, they trade. I have to look at the board again. Whoever's number 30. So 31 Chiefs, 32 Eagles. Let's just say they go 30.
Yeah.
They move up 10 spots. All right, we'll go 10 spots, which is probably going to cost them the 40 and likely the 71 and probably like the 6th round pick if they don't give up a second next year, which is fine. Okay, they did that. That means they're going to have to wait until 93 to address one of their next positions. So, and to be fair, quarterback is the most important position.
Yeah.
But what makes me think that, that they're not really sold on it is by having to do it by coming back into the first round. That's why. So, waiting until 93 to get your next player, whether if it's, a receiver or a cornerback, you're going to be left with very limited options that late in the 3rd round. But, it is what it is. The price you pay for going back in to get a quarterback in the back half of the first round, once again, as long as you don't give up that 2nd round pick next year. So I think I'd be okay with it. I'd be okay with it if they did it that way. And on top of that, you get a 5th year if it's Jackson Dart and they get him at the back end of the first round. So at least they get to work with him this year and next year.
If the Saints somehow swing and miss, they can't get anything done, they don't take a QB, Derek Carr is not ready. Are they just rolling with Spencer Rattler this year?
Yeah, my guess is they roll with Spencer Rattler. I know everybody's like, what about Aaron Rodgers on a flyer? I don't think Aaron Rodgers is coming here.
Yeah, he wants to go somewhere where he can win. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't see that working for so many reasons here with the Saints on both ends. So yeah, I think they roll with Spencer Rattler. Like the key is here, Taylor, is to build this team in the draft the next 2 years. You don't mortgage any of your picks. You just build the team just like the Eagles have done, just like many other successful teams have done in recent years. Just build your team, get them younger to the draft, and then free up your cap space over the next couple of seasons, and then go from there. It's almost like a reset. It's not a hard reset, but it's kind of a mid and soft reset for them, and you get it done that way. So if you can make 9 picks, you make the 9 picks, and you hope that you hit on 6 of them this year, and the next year you hope to hit on 5 or 6 again, and then it seems like you're looking like you're in good shape for the future. And then whenever you have cap space, boom, you sign in some guys, and you're looking pretty good.
Moving away from the 2025 NFL draft, you were just mentioning hitting on 5 or 6 picks in a draft. Saints did that back in 2017, and one of the few remaining members, Ryan Ramczyk, announced over the weekend that he's calling it a career. He's officially announcing his retirement. What are your thoughts on Ryan Ramczyk and his time in New Orleans?
No, he was good, man. Until he got hurt, he was really good. He was, an All-Pro. I mean, 18 to 20. He was solid at the right tackle position. I think he played in 101 games, started almost 90-plus games at that position. So I thought he was really good, man. I wish he would have never gotten hurt because you just never know with him. He could have probably been solidified that offensive line a couple more years if he didn't have the serious knee problem. So, yeah, man, I know he didn't play long, but, hey, it felt like he did something only Willie Roaf did and become a 3-time All-Pro at that one position. So if you're in that company, who's the Pro Football Hall of Fame, that's a pretty good company to be in. And I thought he was one of the best for the Saints in quite some time to play that position. So he's a legend for sure. He's going to go down as a legend. I know it wasn't many years, but whenever you play the way he did whenever he was healthy, it's, he solidifies himself as a legend in my eyes, and I'm sure many other people's eyes.
I imagine the Saints are going to wait and do this June 2nd to file all this paperwork to, at least maintain a little bit of that money, kind of help with the cap this year. Is that kind of what you're hearing?
Yeah, it's an as expected.
Yeah.
After post June 1st, I mean, it's kind of like where everyone has been thinking whenever it officially became announced that he was going to retire. We thought it was going to happen last year, but no, I mean, this year he finally did it. I mean, we saw him in the Dome during one of the games this year. I was like, man, is that Ryan Ramczyk? It doesn't even look like Ryan Ramczyk. He lost that weight. So, but yeah, I mean, that's not a surprise. I think that's what they're going to do.
Just one more for you, Sharief. You were talking about Ramczyk, Willie Roaf. Where do you think Ryan Ramczyk ranks all time among Saints O linemen?
Let's see. Willie Roaf, Ryan. Let's see. I'm trying to think of some other big names.
I had Roaf and Evans ahead of him.
Yeah, I mean, Roaf and Jari are up there for sure, man. I mean, Jari and Willie are two of the best. Jari's knocking at the door to be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I mean, hopefully it happens for him one day. I mean, I guess then you got to think about Teron Armstead, who was here for a long time, also another legend for the Saints. So, I mean, those two guys are neck and neck when you talk about Ryan and Teron. So, I mean, those are the only two guys I can think of. I mean, think of the Super Bowl team. I mean, you had Goody on the team, Goodwin, and then, of course, I thought Jamon Bushrod was pretty good as well. So, he's up there, man. He's definitely top 4, top 5.
Sharief Ishaq, WDSU. Sharief, thanks so much for hopping on with us today.
You got it, buddy.
All right, that was Sharief Ishaq talking all things New Orleans Saints. All right, we're going to take a timeout. We'll have an extended edition of Take It or Leave It. That's coming up here on the other side on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. This is The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
Failure happens to us all.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and the Baton Rouge Clinic bring you the 2025 Dreams Come True Radiothon. Dreams Come True is an organization designed to help grant dreams for children with life-threatening illnesses and their families. The following local businesses have also pledged to match your donations throughout the month: Lewis Mechanical, Patient Plus, and Action Industries, as well as Subaru of Baton Rouge, Service Chevrolet, Luba, and Duplessis Pool Builders. Visit 1045ESPN.com to help us reach our goal, and together we can make dreams come true. And also, you can join us for our NFL draft party. You can celebrate it in style with the 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge Draft Party live from Don Juan's Cigar Bar and exclusively on the 1045 ESPN YouTube channel. Join us Thursday, April 24th at 7 p.m. and hang with the ESPN Baton Rouge team while indulging in the finest cigars paired with signature cocktails. It's the 1045 ESPN Draft Party, all happening at Don Juan's Cigar Bar and live on the 1045 ESPN YouTube channel.
Welcome back in. Final segment, Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Taylor Sharp sitting in for Hunt Palmer. Hunt out the entire week, but we are rocking and rolling here on the midday. All right. Last segment of the show. Let's close this thing out like we do every day with some Take It or Leave It.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
What we got, Mr. Beck?
All right, first the one here. In a interesting turn of events after Nico Iamaleava transferred from Tennessee to UCLA, now UCLA quarterback Joey Aguilar is transferring to Tennessee. Take it or leave it.
I was going to take it. I'm leaving this.
Just leave it alone.
I'm leaving it. Like, yes, did Tennessee need a quarterback? Sure. I mentioned this last week when I was filling in on OTB. There was no guarantee that Nico Iamaleava was going to be the starting quarterback because Joey Aguilar was coming in from Appalachian State. He had a pretty decent career there for the most part. Obviously, when you bring in a quarterback after spring, you're unhappy with your current situation. Look, the transfer portal. Also, Nico's younger brother, Madden Iamaleava, is leaving Arkansas. He's also following his brother to UCLA, which I don't understand because clearly Nico's going to be the starter. You're literally leaving Arkansas where, like, maybe you have a chance to compete. Going to UCLA, knowing you're going to be the backup. Look, you're switching Nico to Joey Aguilar. Like, let's make the transfer portal logo just an upside down pineapple at this point. Okay, I mean, you're swapping guys left and right. That's what this has come to. And now your younger brother is joining the older brother, and the quarterback that was at UCLA who didn't think he could beat out Nico Iamaleava is coming over to Tennessee. So Tennessee has him. A report came out that like they got him for like 7 figures less than what they wanted from Nico Iamaleava. So looks like maybe they came out on the winning side of that. We'll see how Joey Aguilar does. Tennessee also has George McIntyre, a highly recruited freshman. So we'll see who ultimately wins that battle. But the transfer portal is just getting a little ridiculous. Every day I see headlines in the transfer portal, and every day I'm like, huh. So that's kind of where I'm at now, this day and age in college football.
All right, next one here. The Ice Bucket Challenge is back, apparently. Take it or leave it.
Leaving this one, too.
Just leave it alone.
If you guys remember back in 2014, the Ice Bucket Challenge was brought up. I mean, it took the entire globe by storm. Celebrities were doing it. I mean, anybody you could think of, any sort of politician, athlete, singer, social media influencer, whatever it was. Cassie actually found a video of me. There's no audio on this, unfortunately, of me doing the Ice Bucket Challenge as a high school senior all the way back in 2014. My brother up on the roof of my parents' house dumping the bucket on me. That was about 10 years and about, I don't know, a lot of pounds ago. We're not going to get into the specifics, but this time it's brought back, and it's not even for ALS. This is apparently to raise awareness for mental health. Like, I'm all for raising awareness for mental health. That's totally fine with me. Can you find something else? Like, I'm sure they raised a lot of money for ALS. That's great. Great cause. Like, can you find something else to do? Like, you're bringing the same thing back. Like, it's for a good cause, but I'm leaving it. We need something else.
All right, next one. Owner and general manager Jerry Jones of the Dallas Cowboys.
No, leave it.
Said after Tuesday's pre-draft news conference that they are working on pretty substantive trades, quote, regarding players, although he offered no specifics other than saying they are taking calls with teams. Jerry has a plan. Take it or leave it. You already said leave it?
Yeah, we're leaving it. Quickest I've ever left anything. The minute the words Jerry Jones came out of Beck's mouth, I'm like, I'm leaving this. He says what? We have a substantive plan.
Pretty substantive trades regarding players. They're working on them.
So he trade with substance.
Yeah, they're working.
What the hell does that even mean? Jerry just says stuff to sound smart. What does that even? It's like when he said they're going to be selectively aggressive in free agency. What does that mean? Being aggressive means you're going all in, but you're not going all in. You're going to be selective on when you go all in. So you're not like, Jerry just says stuff. He talks in circles more than any person I've ever seen. Like, everybody can complain about Mickey Loomis up there lying at press conferences, pulling up numbers, thinking people aren't going to fact check him. Luckily, I'm here on OTB to fact check Mickey Loomis. I enjoy doing it, but like, at least you like can understand what Mickey Loomis is saying. Like, Jerry Jones is like, I'm going to say something, I'm going to use a bunch of big words that don't make any sense. I'm going to confuse people, so hopefully they won't know that I'm completely full of crap. No. You don't have a plan. You've never had a plan. Last offseason, you didn't sign anybody. Derrick Henry wanted to come and be a Dallas Cowboy. You said no. What do you do this offseason? Hey, Beck, how's this for selectively aggressive, okay? You got rid of Rico Dowdle, which I was all for, might I add. Who'd they replace him with? Clearly, it was an all-pros, an upgrade, right?
Yeah.
No, it was Javonte Williams, who Denver no longer wanted, who essentially had the same exact numbers last year as Rico Dowdle. Rico's numbers were actually a lot better, but yards per carry wise, it was about the same. Like, you fell out of favor to a younger back in Denver. That's why you're no longer there. Like, what? Does he think that, like, everyone in the media is an idiot? We talk about this with Mickey Loomis all the time, and, like, I explain to, like, Beck, Jordan, Musso, like whoever I happen to be chatting with when they're like, oh, Taylor, you're a Cowboys fan. Like, Dallas Cowboys front office situation and New Orleans Saints front office situation ain't a whole lot different, y'all. Because Jerry Jones is not only the GM, but he's the owner, so he can't be fired. And then Mickey Loomis, I mean, he's been with that organization so long, it looks like they refuse to fire him. So essentially, you have a GM that is way past their prime, that seems to be making all the wrong moves, that is virtually untouchable. I mean, look, people can clown me for being a Cowboys fan all they want. That's fine. The situation right now in Dallas and the situation in New Orleans ain't a whole heck of a lot different. The only difference is Dallas knows who their quarterback's going to be because they extremely overpaid for him. The Saints, that's a little bit more up in the air. However, they overpaid for Derek Carr as well. So maybe you're not as dissimilar there as I originally thought.
All right, last one here real quick. We missed this yesterday.
That was like a 3-minute take it or leave it, by the way.
Yeah, it was pretty long. Mavericks GM Nico Harrison.
Oh, my God.
This was yesterday at a
one
season-ending
GM to
press
another
conference.
in Dallas.
He says he miscalculated the depth of love his club's fan had for Luka Doncic when they sent him in a trade, of course, to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. He said, quote, I did know that Luka was important to the fan base, but I didn't know quite know it to what level. You believe him. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, I do. I will take it. I believe Nico Harrison because I think he's a moron. I think he genuinely did not know. This is a guy who's a top 5 player in the NBA who's only 25 years old. You mean to tell me you didn't know the fan base was going to be mad when you traded him? What a moron.
The Hunt Palmer Show.